Hexagram 34. And in case you might be wondering why I have this hood on, I'm also carrying my son. So he's asleep, and this set up with my robe, with him inside the harness, makes for a cozy little nook that he loves to be in. Hexagram 34, using power. So if he does cry, if he does make more sounds than what I think is that I want to keep on this recording, then I'll stop the recording, and then you'll hear a gap, and I'll continue it on later, either when he settles or when I come back to it. So this is your first hexagram with me. Then at the end I have my contemplations. Otherwise I'm basically just reading straight from the Oracle of the Cosmic Way. Hexagram 34, using power. And I got lines 2 and 4 for this, so I haven't read the other lines. This has been a fantastic contemplation for me. The judgment, using power, holding back furthers. Here, the message of the judgment is clear, holding back from using power. The sage teaches that the cosmos does not use power, since power is outside the principles of harmony on which the cosmos is based. The cosmos operates only through a single force, the force of attraction between its complementary aspects. Power is among those false words that have no cosmic basis. It is, moreover, a complete deception to those who believe in using it, because it creates a fate by which the powerful deed returns in a circular motion to the person who has initiated it, bringing the harm he has done to something or someone back to himself. If he is not aware of this cosmic law, but judges the situation only by its outer appearance, he may falsely conclude that an adverse power outside of himself is at work in his life. When we interface with this circular motion, as in resisting the powerful deed outwardly, or trying to stop it through force, we become entangled with it, preventing the fate from completing its circle and creating a fate for ourselves. I'm just going to highlight that. Someone just dropped in for me. All use of power is an act of interference in the harmonious ways the cosmos achieves things. Its use erects blockages by distorting the flow of cosmic energy and turning that energy to egotistical use. All use of power is based on thinking in mechanistic terms that rule out our true feelings and deny the existence of the invisible cosmic consciousness and its principles of harmony. Oh, my ears are ringing. The main focus of this hexagram is the use of power in thought, speech, and action, whether those uses emanate from a person or an organization. I'm going to say that again. The main focus of this hexagram is the use of power in thought, speech, and action, whether those uses emanate from a person or an organization. In terms of thought, the use of power may find a broad array of expressions, as in the following. I'm going to list a whole bunch of things, and I'd recommend possibly coming back to this hexagram and listening to this bit again, because there's a lot. Okay, there's a lot that relates to power, and it's really important to hear. Really important to hear and contemplate on. Here we go. In terms of thought, the use of power may find a broad array of expressions, as in the following. Contriving to arrive at a top by excluding others below. Asserting an any means to the end approach. Being hostile and judgmental. Creating projections, spells, and poison arrows. Becoming vindictive or vengeful. Viewing things as mere objects, and thus disregarding their feeling nature. presuming rights and privileges or positions of superiority and inferiority. Ah, my ears. In terms of speech, the use of power can include gossip, indulgence in idle curiosity, idle chatter, verbal pressure put on others to make things happen, insinuating remarks that throw a bad light on others, pronouncing judgments about the nature of things as good or evil, remarks that create projections, spells, and poison arrows, the use of the term higher power to intimidate people, instilling feelings of guilt or indebtedness. In terms of action, the use of power may involve encroaching into the intimate space of others and of nature, contrived efforts to force results, the use of leverage, whether it be by threat or intimidation, willfully bringing harm to others, indulging in egotistic anger and violence, allowing the ego to appropriate one's own cosmic gifts, appropriating cosmic gifts that have been given to others, suppressing one's inner truth as by allowing the ego to claim the achievements of the helpers as one's own doing. Another attitude that also needs to be recognized as a use of power is passive-aggressive behavior. This behavior may be found in people who, for example, in a cooperative living situation, fail to do their share, forcing others to cover their expenses or to keep things clean in order to have a normal living situation. Such behavior is an insidious use of power in that it affects people negatively through an arrogant insensitivity. The correct response to any use of power is to say the inner no to it. The inner no prevents our chi energy from being used by the ego in others. It has the correcting function of awakening the offending person's true self to the fact that the ego in him is embarrassing his dignity. This hexagram informs us that the inner no is the only thing that has the ability to correct the use of power. The kind of cosmic energy referred to in this hexagram, which has mistakenly been called power, has a different function from the chi energy or nourishing life force mentioned in hexagram 27, nourishment. This hexagram is about the kind of cosmic energy that creates transformation through the light and the dark, and which is comparable to electrical energy. Its purpose is to move things by transforming them from non-form into form and from form into non-form. In their non-form state, things first exist as feelings. When formed into images, these feelings become transformed into energy. Really important line, I'll read it again. In their non-form state, things first exist as feelings. When formed into images, these feelings become transformed into energy. We see this energy engaged, for example, when a horse pulls a wagon. When the horse's will is engaged, it enables the horse to accomplish its task. Or donkey. Because the cosmic definition of will is that it is the total consciousness of the horse's psyche expressed as energy. See hexagram 28, the preponderance of the great. To cooperate with nature means that a person relates to the horse from his true feelings to engage the will of the horse, its psychic energy, to accomplish the task. I'll say that again. To cooperate with nature means that a person relates to the horse from his true feelings to engage the will of the horse, its psychic energy, to accomplish the task. When, however, a person puts a horse to a task by using mental or physical force, the horse's will is harnessed by the ego and its energy becomes abused. checking my note here. Yeah, cool, great. The result is that the transformative energies of the cosmos become blocked, creating obstructions. The obstructions have the purpose of making the person aware that he is using power and that he is going against nature's ways. To force the horse to do things against its will often results in injuries. Can I highlight that? If the person continues using power to fight the obstructions, he creates a fate. To correct the situation, he needs to retreat from using power and say the inner no to the mistaken idea that caused him to do so. The inner no releases the cosmic energy from the harness. The inner no releases the cosmic energy from the harness the ego had put on it and allows it to operate again through transformations. The sage informs us that the cosmos does not operate through power, but through a system of harmony. As mentioned in Hexagram 32, duration, the cosmic principles of harmony and the laws of physics complement each other to move the cosmic reality on its path of evolution. It is through observing and harmonizing with the laws of physics that machines, such as aeroplanes, can be made to fly. The idea that humans can defy or override nature's laws through the use of power is a myth. Let's say that line again. The idea that humans can defy or override nature's laws through the use of power is a myth. As can be seen from the above, all ideas that contain the word power, horsepower, manpower, prayer as an instrument of power, contain falsehoods and misconceptions. As soon as a person believes that power exists and that he can use it, he is drawn into the demonic sphere of consciousness. The use of power perverts what is originally a feeling energy into a mental energy that is then siphoned off to the demonic sphere of consciousness. The same occurs when a person believes he is powerless, since this implies a belief in power. His belief in himself as powerless gives others the idea that they have the power to take advantage of him. Super important. His belief in himself as powerless gives others the idea that they have the power to take advantage of him. The belief in power creates both power and powerlessness. The ability of any person or organization to exercise power over others depends entirely on the extent to which those others believe in the validity of the power. Let's highlight that one. All belief in power comes from the collective ego in its effort to exclude from a person's awareness the existence of the helpers of the invisible world and the fact that the cosmos is a system of principles of harmony. I'm smiling, if you can't tell. Spells connected with this hexagram contain phrases such as, "We will show them who has the power," "I am powerless," "There is nothing I can do about it," or "I have to do it all myself." You must submit to the powers that be. These spells block a person's ability to ask for aid from the helpers and lock him into being dominated either by the ego in himself or in others. All right, the lines. And it mentioned before the spells. So if you don't know how to get rid of spells or terminate spells, then this book will tell you how to do that. And it's much easier than you think. Line 1. Power in the toes. Continuing brings misfortune. This is certainly true. Power in the toes is a metaphor for acting on what is apparent to the eye, without bothering to inquire of the sage as to the inner truth of the matter. Because the person believes in solving problems by aggressive action, his actions are driven purely by impulse. However, all impulses are based on seed phrases and images that are, at best, half-truths. As mentioned in the main text of this hexagram, such action includes thought, speech, and physical action. The misfortune referred to is the fate that is created by impulsive action, whether it be taking action physically or impulsively and superficially coming to a judgment. One of the seed phrases that incite impulsive action is, "You need to use power." Another is, "What you see is what counts." To free himself of his fate, the person needs to rid himself of this superficial way of thinking. See, freeing yourself from seed phrases and images. Power in the toes also refers to the subservient attitude of a person who believes in an all-powerful God or cosmos. He believes that by doing things, or abstaining from doing things, to please a higher power, he will gain heaven's benevolence. This line applies likewise to the person who acts on the belief that God has given humans power and rights over nature, or over the fate of those who displease God. Acting on any of these beliefs creates a fate which can be ended if the person will rid himself of them. See, freeing yourself from mistaken ideas and beliefs and deprogramming procedure. Line 2. Perseverance brings good fortune. Being firmly correct brings success. The first part of the line saying refers to the accepted philosophy of the collective ego that in order for power to be effective, that is, to bring good fortune, a person or institution needs to be persevering to apply it. This view has been developed to explain the obstructions created by using power and to justify using ever more power in the effort to overcome the obstructions. A person may receive this line when, due to his use of power, has created a fate which has manifested in the form of an illness. The line informs him that if he continues to fight his fate, he will create a new fate. To end his fate and return to health, he needs to identify which mistaken idea related to the theme of power has created his fate, and then to free himself of it with the aid of the helpers. Doing so will also free his healing abilities. See, freeing yourself from mistaken ideas and beliefs and freeing yourself from some health problems. A person may also receive this line when he is making detailed plans which he intends to follow to the letter. A correct response is to first bring his motives and attitude into harmony with the cosmos by saying the inner no to any element in himself or his plan that either proposes the use of power or asserts that he is without help from the cosmos. Then he can be moved by his inner senses to respond to that which is in accord with the cosmic will. When a person aligns his will with the cosmic will, everything he undertakes succeeds and endures. Line 3. The ego works through power. The true self does not act thus. To continue is dangerous. A goat butts against a hedge and its horns entangled. So that again, line 3. The ego works through power. The true self does not act thus. To continue is dangerous. A goat butts against a hedge and gets its horns entangled. This line makes us aware that only the ego works through power and that the use of power is destructive, whether it comes from thoughts, emotions, or actions. It further advises that the use of power initiates fate. It also reveals the good effect of saying the inner no to the use of power. On observing another's use of power, instead of thinking or saying there's nothing I can do about it, the correct action is to inwardly say no to it and to call on the helpers to bring the use of power to an end. Butting against a hedge and getting its horns entangled is warning a person that he is in danger of creating a fate if he continues to act from ego emotions. Among these emotions, which the ego uses to keep control of him, are self-pity, self-blame, reproach, intimidation, threat, and guilt. The goat here represents an obstinate use of power. The hedge is a metaphor for the limits set by the fate that is inevitably invoked when the ego is allowed to indulge in using power. The goat can also refer to obsessive thoughts of the ego that drive a person to overcome a perceived insufficiency in order to be successful. Can I highlight that? For example, a person who thinks his reasoning is not good enough, he thinks he needs to reason more. In a broader sense, the line can refer to any person who believes that if he only applies more effort or more pressure, he will succeed. Butting can also refer to a person who is getting entangled in someone else's fate by accepting guilt, which the other has projected upon him. Receiving this line makes him aware that he needs to free himself of a guilt spell. See deprogramming guilt. The metaphor can also refer to a person who boasts his power to overcome fate, death, evil, or who indulges in a careless disregard for nature and its ways. He needs to rid himself of the projections, spells, and poison arrows he has put on himself. This line counsels that the person can get free of his fate if he identifies with the help of the RTCM, the seed phrases and images that cause him to use power. The reference to the goat, in the sense of a scapegoat, is to make a person aware of the destructive dynamic of the idea of guilt. The psyche cannot bear guilt because it is viewed as an inextinguishable stain. In his attempt to get rid of it, the person passes it on to something or someone else. Since doing this is incorrect, cosmic blame is incurred, which the person promptly converts into guilt, because he does not understand the difference between cosmic blame and guilt. The idea of guilt comes from the collective ego and has the purpose of keeping people unremittingly under its control. Cosmic blame is incurred when a person violates the cosmic principles of harmony. It can be extinguished by recognizing one's mistake, identifying the mistaken idea that has caused it, and ridding oneself of it. See page 39, Guilt, Blame and Shame. Line 4. Being firmly correct brings good fortune. Remorse disappears. The hedge opens. There is no entanglement. Strength, movement, depends upon the axles of a big cart. Being firmly correct refers to depending on what is truly dependable, as indicated by the metaphor of the axles of a big cart. Here, the cart represents the cosmic reality with all the helpers of the invisible world ready to do their tasks through transformation. The axles upon which the cart depends for its movement represent the cosmic principles of harmony and the laws of physics that complement each other, the one applying to the sphere of cosmic consciousness, the other to the world of form, nature. The force of attraction between them creates the energy that has falsely been called power. The line is stating that if a person will free himself from the belief that the cosmos and nature work through power, he will attract the cosmic helpers to his task. These helpers will also undo the fate that has been created by his trying to make things happen through power. Then, all cause for remorse disappears. This line also refers to related mistaken beliefs, as, for example, that humans can overcome the limits set by the laws of physics. Very relevant to me right now. Line 5. Loses the goat with ease, no remorse. The goat in this line can represent a person's natural ability to say the inner no, which he has lost with ease through being rewarded during childhood for being the good child who does not say no either to his parents or to authorities or represent the values of the collective ego. Through accepting this self-image of the good child, a spell has been put on his common sense. The loss prevents him from being able to say the inner no to the encroachment of others to his inner space. no remorse, refers to getting rid of the self-image mentioned, which will also restore his common sense. Line 6. A goat butts against a hedge. It cannot go backward. It cannot go forward. Nothing serves to further. If one notes the difficulty, success is assured. Here, the goat which butts its head against a hedge, here the goat which butts against a hedge is a metaphor for a person who indulges in ego emotions to influence his situation, only to find himself humiliated by fate. Ooh, I've got to highlight that bad boy right there. Trying to influence the situation through emotional displays only makes things worse, because the emotions keep him attached to the problem from which he would like to be free. If he will notice that it is his attachment to his emotions, anger, guilt, desire, that keeps him trapped, and turn them over to the sage, the hedge will open. See page 50, Feeling and Emotion, and page 533, Centering Yourself. The hedge represents the limits put on the human use of power by the law of fate. I think that's it. Great. My contemplations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to witness my contemplations. Now, this I Ching, this one came up quite a while after the last one I did. And my goodness, especially if it's my goodness if you're wanting to run your own business, or, well, even then, getting a job in a 9-to-5 and using power to stay in that job because you need power to pay your mortgage, power to do this, power to do all these other things. So this is a real surrendering. We're just saying that, no, there is no surrendering in this. It's just, you just say no. You say no to the thing. You say no to the thing of the self-image. You say no to the use of the power. And I highlighted in this one that centering yourself, because in the 5 personality patterns, there's a number of exercises in there which are about centering yourself, finding your core. Who are you? Your body is pinging who you are all the time, like a tuning fork. Bing, bing. This is John. Bing, bing. This is the listener. Bing, bing. Whoever's listening to this, your body is telling you, and ego will want you to not listen to that. And armouring in your body, one of the other hexagrams talks about armouring and the body memory, will also want to stop you from listening to that. Like the fear of the past, guilt of the past, all the conditioning and things that you've gone through to get you to where you are today. And this line of highlighted here the goat which butts against a hedge, who finds himself humiliated by fate. And humiliation is a great resetter of someone who's using force. And in the context of the 5 personality patterns, the rigid and aggressive types are the most likely to want to avoid humiliation, so they try and force harder, or they hide their humiliation. They don't learn the lesson. A lot of politics, a lot of people that support the collective ego run the rigid survival pattern as their dominant pattern, but it shows up in all 5 anyway. It shows up in everyone at some level. Like, for example, paying taxes. Right? You'll be rigid to pay taxes, rigid to pay bills, right? And in that, to pay the bill on time or to pay the mortgage on time, you might use power. And in that use of power, you might obfuscate the truth. You might go against your body, and then we wonder why we're stuck in these cycles of chronic illness with no explanation, right? The majority of chronic illnesses, even acute illnesses, except for like we cut an arm off, even that could probably have some tie back, are unexplainable. If a person if a person will free himself from the belief that the cosmos and nature work through power, he will attract the cosmic helpers to his task. These helpers will also undo the fate that has been created by his trying to make things happen through power. Okay. So, when I was in the transhumanist movement, we were all about wanting to defy nature by living as long as we can through genetic manipulation, through all kinds of longevity treatments, through all kinds of things. Okay. And what I found in going through the spiritual journey that I have is that all of that stuff is pure ego, right? Because you're afraid of death. And this oracle of the cosmic way and how it reframes death and the timing of it was perfect considering to the birth of my son, Tommy, was the timing of like, what's the concept of death? Is where it's just another transition that you go through. You just go through death. So trying to avoid death through hard, like pushing against nature, trying to do all these things, you're just forcing it and you just create a fate somewhere else. So I think that all this longevity stuff is pure fate creation. And this is your truth. I mean, great. The goat can also refer to obsessive thoughts of the ego that drive a person to overcome a perceived insufficiency in order to be successful. More effort or more pressure, if it applies more effort or more pressure, he will succeed. This is huge. Huge. If you're Canadian, huge, right? Especially if you feel like you're behind, if you feel like you're not where the Joneses are, if you feel like if you're comparing yourself to siblings or somebody else in your life or your favorite influencer or somebody else, oh, they're so much ahead of me. Look at all their investments. Look at all this. And you can see this very easily. You're convinced to push more, like the David Goggins or the Alex Hormozis or the Tony Robbins. But yeah, I got to push more effort. And those types are aggressive types and rigid types. And what happens in the collective ego is that when someone operates out of the collective ego, they want everybody else to maintain the facade. They want everybody else to do the same. I got this success by pushing. All right, great. So then they write books on pushing, books on power, books on more effort, podcasts, YouTube videos, the whole thing. When it's not, it's outside of cosmic harmony, unless it's your truth, of course. But for the most part, what I can see, it's outside of cosmic harmony. And the people that aren't pushing or aren't succeeding or aren't whatever, it's their effort that's put to blame. So they're guilted into not being where they're told that they need to be. So they push harder and then just incur a fate, whatever that fate is. And my friends who own businesses go through these cycles of bilge and purge. Bilge and purge meaning you get a lot of money and then they lose it all. Get a lot of money and then they lose it all. So well, that's not healthy. Surely they're incurring a fate. And either comes through the relationship or the business itself. Superficial way of thinking. Superficial. Hey, Tommy. Got a bit excited there and Tommy jumped. So, social media and superficiality. Okay. You need to use power. What you see is what counts. Rid yourself of the superficial way of thinking. So social media has been a superficial, nurturing place, right? Where someone just gets the highlight reel of someone else's life. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on in their relationships. You have no idea. You have no idea what's going on in their life. It's a highlight reel. It's a marketing. It's superficial. So in the context of the collective ego, social media is a great place to keep that cycle going, right? Like even for me right now. So right now, Cassie's not well. Like she's just come out of the birth. She's coming out of the birth portal. The first 40 days isn't over yet. And all of her hormones are all over the place. She's got sick for the first time, which she hasn't gotten sick for a long time. She had a cough that I had before she got pregnant. So she's unwell. Right. So I'm doing the I've got Tommy, got Luca. Like I can't remember if I mentioned before, but I've got Luca and Tommy in my bed, so Cassie can get her sleep. I'm great with sleeping with the kids. It's easy for me, but it's not my normal routine. So this I Ching has really helped me by saying no to the part of me that feels like I need to push or show up on social media in a certain way. Like I've got videos to make and other things to do, but what I really feel attuned to today was make this video of the I Ching and the cosmic way. This isn't a public video. It's private. I'm not flexing anything here. This is me showing up as myself. Power in the toes. Now, there's something about power in the toes and the crossover with the 5 personality patterns is that the leaving pattern and the merging pattern tend to not have very much power in their toes, power in their feet, power in their legs. The enduring, the rigid, and aggressive, for the most part, has power in their toes. So, where am I going with this? There's the more that you are in your body and you can feel your whole body, you can be aware of what's going on. The higher power, and in my previous iteration of my business, we would use higher power as like a call to action or a call to threat. So, I was informed by a higher power. You can feel it, right? Higher power told me, God told me. God told me to do this. The higher power, right? So in that, whenever there's a reference to higher or lower, outside of the context of equality and harmony, you know that there's something that's the collective ego is tied to it. The misfortune referred to is the fate that is created by impulsive action, whether it be taking action physically, impulsively, and superficially coming to a judgment. This is a really tricky one, I think, because the more you get in tune with your body, your instincts just do things. So really being able to honor who you are and knowing that what's impulsive that's driven by the ego and what's impulsive that's actually you. I think even the term impulsive has got I can feel the pejorative to it. There's something else that's here where impulsive is inherently flawed. So for me, I will do things reactively, and I know that's me because that's just what I need to do in that moment, whether it's a reply to someone or something else, or reply to Cassie or my son Luca. It's like that's the response. I just know that's me, that's the truth in the moment. That's what I need to say. Because this person believes in solving problems by aggressive action, his actions are driven purely by impulse. So the aggressive person in the 5 personality patterns is about dominating. They dominate whoever they're speaking to because in that control and the domination creates safety for them. So if they can yell louder or be more assertive, then that creates safety in themselves. And powerlessness is a theme in the aggressive pattern person. They're afraid of being powerless, so they overcome their powerlessness. They override it. They can become superhuman in their own mind. And that just shows up in their relationships. They continuously want to control, either through logical force. His belief in himself as powerless gives others the idea that they have the power to take advantage of him. And that's a recurring theme in someone who's as an unintegrated or is unaware of their aggressive pattern, is that they're always on the lookout for people who want to take advantage of them, which makes they can't relax, or they try and surround themselves with people that they know that they can dominate. The belief in power creates both power and powerlessness. The ability of any person or organisation to exercise power over others depends entirely on the extent to which those others believe in the validity of the power. This is huge in the context of government and law. Okay. Any institution that believes it has a right to govern you or control over you, you can say the inner no to, and it mutes that power. Watch as this starts happening at a global scale. Like, I see there's going to be so much more decentralization, individuals taking responsibility for themselves, not out of a rebellious, I'm angry at the government kind of way, because that's just the ego again, just taking control of it the other way. It jumps in, I'm going to help you, I'll help you, and then just takes control again. But at a grounded, in yourself, whole way, where these organizations that have been used to exercise power over others will now be called to fate. Called to fate. We will show them who has the power. I am powerless. There is nothing I can do about it. I have to do it all myself. You must submit to the powers that be. Powers that be. Powers that be. You can feel that in your body, right? The powers that be. I have to do it all myself. You can feel that one as well. Particularly if you've run the rigid pattern, which everybody does at some level, especially if you're successful. Successful, you like things to be orderly or show up in an orderly way. People that work that 9 to 5, even in business too, show up in orderly. It's got to be rigid, right? Do it my way. I can only do it myself. Can't call on help. If I call on help, the only good person to do it is yourself. If you want to do a job right, you got to do it yourself. All that kind of stuff. To force the horse to do things against its will often results in injuries. And we see this using power, injury. And I did this in the gym months ago. Right? There was a moment where I could have stopped. And I was like, no, I'm going to bulk up this bad boy and get my arms done. Hurt my arm. I still haven't healed. So now I'm like, I need to do something else now. The gym is actually not for me after I actually sat with it and felt it. Because clarity comes from thinking and feeling. So, actually, gym's not for me. This is not for me. What am I doing it for? It's all power. That was okay back then. Incurred fate, learn from fate, change, transform. So knowing when you're using power in your body is key to this entire key. What does it feel like when you're using power? When, however, a person puts a horse to a task by using mental or physical force, the horse's will is harnessed by the ego and its energy becomes abused. What was my note here? AI. This is perfect, okay? So AI, particularly the ChatGPT and Grok and all the other ones that are like that, the interfaces, the text interfaces. Sorry, Tommy, drip some water on you. Abusing AI because the ego you can put it into it and it spits out something. It's very entertaining to the ego. I got an answer. Save me time. Done it quickly. It's a big one for me because I use AI a lot to draw links to things and bridges to things, insights to things. So knowing when am I doing this from the ego place, when can I just do it that's grounded and whole? And there is moments when I find that. And I've got to be saying the no, constantly saying the inner no to things that wants to that the ego wants to blame. It's got to say the inner no to things. In their non-form state, things first exist as feelings. And this is a fundamental flaw in a lot of mental health and personal development. Feelings inform action. Feelings. It's the feelings that inform. You can try and override and push your feelings, but it's the feelings that have the key to everything. Feelings, it's the genesis is feelings. And if you can't feel, then the mind and the ego will take over. This is why a lot of my work involves feeling the body. What are you numbing the body with? Is there armoring there in your body that's stopping you from feeling? Learning how to feel is where we go. But in this fourth, or is it third or fourth? think it's the third industrial revolution I think we're going through right now, either third or fourth. I think it's the third. With AI, feelings are going to become the main commodity here. This hexagram informs us that the inner know is the only thing that has the ability to correct the use of power. All right, and you got to do it from not wanting to incur guilt or blame. You can do it from a neutral state, because what can show up is a lot of anger, especially if you're someone who's been powerless or takes on the identity of powerlessness. It's like, oh, I'm powerless, have to fight the system. You can if you want. You'll learn a lesson on the other side of it. But getting yourself involved in those systems when it's not your truth just incurs a fate and will exhaust you. So learning how to say no to things and taking action when the action is required is this entire key. It's the entire I Ching, really. Contrived efforts to force results, right? Especially in the coaching space, right? What's your goal? What's your money goal for the year? What's your life goal for the year? Right? Oh, you got to get there. You got to try harder. Contrived efforts. What's the definition of contrived? Deliberately created rather than arising naturally or spontaneously. The carefully contrived image of the party unity, right? Contrived, right? Deliberately created rather than arising naturally or spontaneously, which is what I see in a lot of the trans movement and all the woke stuff. It's been contrived. I know we're going to get there. We're going to get to a point where everyone's just, you do you. Whatever the fuck you want to do, you do you. We'll create our space, you create your space, we're all in harmony. But trying to force it, contrive it, same thing what's happening right now. There's a resetting, there's a reharmonizing happening. But at some point, there needs to be a letting go of the wheel. Otherwise, it just goes in the other direction, contrived in the other direction, right? Using the term higher power to intimidate people, installing feelings of guilt or indebtedness, like, oh, you owe me, I did this for you. So no, you did it because you wanted to do it. There's no debt that's incurred by just being you. Verbal pressure put on others to make things happen. Classic in the coaching space. A lot of verbal pressure. Marketing is huge in this. Okay, so whenever you're using this kind of marketing that's not honest, it's incur fate. It's incur a fate. Idle curiosity. Idle chatter. Just make sure you're speaking when you want to speak. Make it conscious. Feel the feelings in your body when it's like, I actually don't want to have this conversation right now. It's not for me. Like gossip, for example. Like gossip there. Gossip. Idle curiosity. Like the ego will look for something to do. I've got a client that's going to do a sitting of Vipassana this week. Vipassana. Vipassana is a great technology to bring attunement to your idle curiosity, the monkey mind. Viewing things as mere objects and thus disregarding their feeling nature. Mere objects. Everything is consciousness. Everything. So giving everything the respect that it's due. Everything. Right? It's a challenge coming from that object space. Person or organization. This is not just about people. It's about organizations too. All use of power is an act of interference in the harmonious ways the cosmos achieves things. Its use erects blockages by distorting the flow of cosmic energy and turning that energy to egotistical use. All use of power is based on thinking in mechanistic terms that rule out our true feelings and deny the existence of the invisible cosmic consciousness and its principles of harmony. That's it. Bye.